right, and here we go. Welcome to the 67th episode of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about everything to do with one of gaming's most storied, turbulent, and drama-filled franchises. Halo is dead. Long live Halo.
Fuck you!
I stole it from Austin. Today we're going to talk about the reported leaks, the rumors, and where we fall on both sides of the outlooks for this Halo franchise. Hey, Austin, you wanted it out there, man. We got it out there now.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, let's meet our Spartan team. All right, first up, we have, I don't even know if I want to call you guest here, Mike. We have Spartan Mike, a.k.a. Mr. KageMaru. For some of you guys that don't know, he was one of our original members. He got very, very injured. He couldn't even wipe his own ass for like a year, but he is back with us now to rejoin us. Probably just to kind of gloat in a bunch of I told you so's, but I don't know for sure. But Mike, how's it going, man? Welcome back.
Good. Glad to be back. Like that. It's doing good. Thank you.
Good. And Mike, we also just figured that, if we end up finding ourselves repeating ourselves too much from the last show, we'll just take about an hour to give you shit. That's really how I pass most of my time when I'm on Xbox.
We all have our causes sometimes, or
Yeah, you have your
I'm
purpose
here for
in
it.
life. That's good. Next up, we got Spartan Aarsal, aka Mr. Soulblazerz. How's it going, Soul?
Going pretty good. Crazy weeks for Halo in terms of no official news at all, but still a lot of news out there, right?
Wouldn't a crazy week for Halo be when it's not a crazy week for Halo? Like, I feel
that's
like
actually true.
When everything just goes smoothly according to plan, I feel like that would be a
Like,
crazy week
we
for
told
Halo.
ourselves we wouldn't necessarily be going every 2 weeks because we wouldn't get enough material for it, and then lo and behold,
It's always something.
If Halo lives for one thing, it's the drama.
yeah.
Next up, we found this young guy on the streets here.
Just wandered into the stream.
Just wandered, like playing Fortnite. And we're like, hey, like, you want to talk about Halo? Maybe bring the Fortnite crowd to us. It's Spartan Austin, aka Mr. AustinFordGames, freshly shaven, 20 years younger. How's it going, man?
I did it because I've been going to the gym for 65 days today.
Hell yeah.
Super stoked, super proud of it. I was talking to my stepmom the other day on the phone, and she was like, oh, I can see it in your face. And like, I can tell that you've been losing weight. And I was like, oh, I appreciate that. And I was like, oh, maybe you can't see it on my face. So, like, an hour goes by and I was bored. Like, I was not doing anything. And I just, like, without thinking about it, shaved my face. And I was like, oh, fuck, I've made a terrible mistake. I look like, I've heard it all already. I look like Jonah Hill. I look like a baby Jabba the Hutt. I look like, my favorite comparison was one that I thought of when I saw my face, which was I look like Wayne Knight, like Jurassic Park, kind of Seinfeld era. Absolutely loving it. But no, I'm doing well. Halo did not die last time, like I predicted, but it is certainly going through some big changes right now.
Yeah, it's we talked a lot about some of the rumors, which, contrary to some of the things out there, I don't think they've all been disproven. But we're gonna actually dive a lot into that. And Mike, I don't know if you had a chance to hear some of the things we talked about last time with the bathrobe Spartan rumors and things like that. I think what happened last time is a lot of what was put out into a lot of what he reported, obviously different language. Some of it was interpreted or people played a game of telephone or made their own interpretations and it became something else in some respects. But I still find a lot of these things to seem like they could be, but let's kind of dive into it. Before we get going on the Schreier stuff, any little quick hitters you guys want to touch on before we start breaking down his reports? No? All right, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Last time I started,
I don't know.
last time I started, they're like, wait a second. So I'm like,
Fair,
okay,
fair
let's
enough. I mean, I guess I'll say I've been playing Halo a lot the last couple of weeks. Had good fun with it. Other than that,
No,
You know,
I mean, it's weird, right? Because I feel like the last time we all got together, I talked about how my enthusiasm for the franchise is kind of at an all-time low. Which, you know, it is what it is. I still like dip my toes in and play at least a couple of games every week, and we'll still download a Forge map here and there. But there's more. I feel like there is still some doom and gloom in what we're going to talk about today. Like there
of
was
course.
a lot of last week.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything that's kind of come up over the last 2 weeks has sort of helped to revitalize some of that interest. If anything, it feels like this is sort of the first step towards a sequel. Like it feels like we're in that drive towards a sequel, whereas it did feel a little nebulous there for a few months, where it's like, okay, is Infinite going to be around for how long? Is it going to be around for 3 years? Is it going to be around for 6 years before, you know, we get a sequel? And given all the layoffs and everything, I do think that this is sort of laying the groundwork for, hey, maybe sooner than we were anticipating originally, and we'll get into all of this later, but maybe sooner than we were anticipating, a sequel is actually closer than we all think.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of possibilities, right? Like this is where we're at right now. It's like, and me and Austin talked about this too, because I think mood changes as a Halo fan, probably depending on the hour and depending on the last interpretation you've read. But there's probably a lot more reasons to be. They haven't given a lot of reasons to just have blind faith that they're going to figure it out, right? But at the same time, all the possibilities, all the I think, in fact, Austin kind of expressed the total opposite. And Mike, I think you're probably going to be similar, but I'll let you Mike, real quick. I'll let you say something.
Yeah, just I guess put some context in the mind frame that I'm coming into all this is, I mean, you know, obviously the first thing was the whole impact to the devs. You know, that was first and foremost the most depressing aspect.
Yep.
And then, you know, and then the idea that just Infinite is done, like the single player. Because, and I've said it, I'm sure you can go back to a good number of podcasts that we've discussed it. We've discussed it, you know, plenty of times, gaming and just casually talking. I enjoy Halo's multiplayer, but I've always been primarily the campaign type of person. Like I've always preferred the campaign, especially co-op. I love co-op, and Halo's historically had some of the best co-op out there. And you know, and I haven't hated 343 single player games. I don't think they're nearly as bad or terrible as some people portray them to be. But you know, they definitely grabbed me like the Bungies did, but Infinite did. Infinite was the first one to go up there toe to toe for me with the Bungie games, and I'd put it easily in my top 3. You know, behind
Halo games, period.
Yeah, you know, just behind CE and 3, but that's good company to be around. And who knows? Like maybe if I was able to play co-op at launch.
What just happened? Oh my God. Nice.
God.
Can you speak in that thing?
I'm not taking it off.
Oh God, that is
All
great.
right.
That is perfect. That is, you know what? Everything is so much better now.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
Amazing.
you know, to cut it short, I just, I'm kind of just playing wait and see. It would be really terrible if this current story couldn't continue, because they had to cut short the last one, and fine.
God, that is by far my biggest worry, man. We're gonna get into all of it, but like the one thing I've been like just saying again and again the last week or whatever is like, listen, do what you want to do, change engines, I don't give a crap what you do, just please do not reboot the story again.
Yeah,
please. That's all I ask.
They laid a lot of good groundwork,
and it's basically a blank slate in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? You got a new cast of characters that are relatively fleshed out. You can do what you want with them. Go down the endless path. Don't go down the endless path. I don't give a crap. Just please don't have another game where it's like, this game is going to be a spiritual successor, a soft reboot, a perfect entry point for new players for the franchise. No, just make the damn game. You know?
follow through, right? And I think
Yes.
that's probably been one of 343's
main flaws. And I
biggest
fully agree.
issues. I mean, there's been a lot
I
of them.
say
but-
that they should just like use the show as a starting point.
I mean, if you're gonna reboot the universe, then maybe.
Oh my god! Started with a Master Chief's ass on camera at the beginning, at the opening.
Kind of that old God of War energy.
Pan to his ass right off the beginning. Oh my goodness! Nick's in the chat now too.
Oh
All
my
right,
God,
yeah.
You know, Nick, we
Mike,
could have done it if you were just a few minutes earlier. All I needed to do was just set up a 5-person. I mean, you can join now, but it'll be all messed up for like 5-6 minutes, but the audio will work fine. So up to you.
Nick definitely has a lot to say. You know, and there is going to be a lot to say when we get to the engine stuff here in a minute too. But you know, I do think it is worth reiterating, Mike, about the dev thing, only because I saw some ish on Twitter, just like usual. People who know the devs, or anybody who's had a chance to talk to any devs from 343, I can't speak for hundreds and hundreds of thousands. You can never paint a broad brush, but it just feels like the majority of them that you are willing to talk about it were proud to work on the franchise. They wanted to be responsible for bringing it back. They loved. I mean, the only reason you're going to work through toxicity and these situations. Under these circumstances, if you have any level of talent in a work environment where you can go remote anytime, to some other company anytime you want, is because you love the franchise, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense to stick around otherwise, and they wanted to see it through. So I think, if you see stuff out there that are painting everybody with the broad brush, they don't care about the franchise. No, there was creative differences. There was, and there was creative differences, and that's even been documented from former leads. I mean, like we talked about it previously. Josh Holmes said it. He says, they had different ideas for the way they wanted to move forward and put their own stamp on it, and
like a lack of a unified vision. Right, has been something that has plagued 343 its entire existence. It
has, and it's been on record that it's cost them development time. It's made them change directions, probably too deep into development, and it looks like it happened for a third time. Right, so absolutely, those are challenges. Those have been issues that you can.
That makes it so frustrating because it's like they finally figured it out.
I know,
and it's like.
It's the same thing I said last time too, Mike. Is like, it really sucks to see 343. And like I feel like I've been talking to all my friends even about this. It's like it sucks that 343 has had this like storm cloud over it for the last decade, and they finally got it right. And now, not after Halo 4, not after Halo 5, not after the MCC, but now that we have a great Halo game out the gate, maybe missing some features, maybe a little content light, maybe
perfect.
The roadmap isn't great, but like, what a fun Halo game. For them to finally have like landed here and then be like, sorry guys, we're cutting the entire campaign team. We're cutting some of the multiplayer team. We're cutting some of the audio team. The mocap team is gone. Like all of that. What are you talking about, man? Now?
Yep.
Yeah. The gameplay, the loop, the sandbox, the stuff that to me is always what separated Halo. And I know people love the lore and the universe and the stories and this and that, but to me, what made Halo, the reason you would get back and you would play those games over and over and over again, the classics, right? Your favorites would be because it was replayable, because it didn't always play out
right,
because it felt good. And I think they finally, after 4 and I wasn't a fan of 4s. I know I'm in the not all you agree with that, but this is the first time it felt like they actually got that. But we won't belabor that too much right now, because I think we'll have a
let's
chance
dive
to
into
get
the
back
main the title of the episode. Let's dive
okay. I'm gonna read some of the bullets from Schreier's notes, and I'll kind of start them in order, and we can stop on the ones that I won't go word for word. Especially since it's behind a paywall. We'll have respect for him there, but maybe disrespect for him in other places. All right. So first off, he says 343 will still keep making new Halo games in the popular Halo franchise at its prized 343 studio, despite rumors to the contrary. Now, I just want to stop there.
Yeah, this is Schreier being Schreier, I want to say. Like, he's done this before, literally with people we know.
Wasn't his
might be in
rumor
the
that
chat.
did it before? That said it before?
No, but like, so he's basically saying like that entire thing, that Battle Spartan thing, is completely wrong because there weren't plans for the DLC anyways, or some weird stuff like that, or like he took like a translation of it and kind of like doubled down on it when it wasn't that. I mean, 343 were always going to exist. They're always going to have their credits in the game. The rumor was that they'd work with other larger studios, not just smaller support studios, other larger studios like how Perfect Dark's working with, how the Initiative's working with Crystal Dynamics, something like that, but with Halo, right? That was the rumor, and I still think that's probably happening in some aspect or another.
Yeah, and basically some people. First of all, no, Nick said I'm pretty loud here. Am I still loud? I'm trying to mess with my volume.
Abe, you're very loud. No, you're not too loud for me.
All right.
I mean, that's just
Am I
Abe.
just too loud for? Is it just?
In fact, I have you down to 65. Interesting.
Kick it to 30.
I think some of the problem is the way that our audio is captured. If we get, it's not consistent like some of our recording software is.
Yeah.
So if we get too close to the mic or get too excited, like
Okay.
our voices will peak out really bad.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just call me out, chat. Anybody other than than Nick, let me know if sorry. All right. So yeah, and I agree with you. So I think, when I first read that, when we first read the him saying that all this is
era, right? Where he's like, this is not true. Most of this is speculation, and some of it's not true at all. Isn't it weird like that?
And then what he reported could almost dovetail right into the rumors, which is just so funny because basically that's always been his MO, is to kind of shoot down any other insider. Mm-hmm. And then if he has to tweak it a little bit, play semantics, because really what we talked about before wasn't that 343 was going away. I mean, Pierre just got the damn job.
Yep.
Like you don't restructure the studio and put Pierre at the front of 343 and then just go, all right, we changed our mind 3 months after that. If Microsoft high level was doing that after a few months after they just restructured and had a different vision and strategy for how they're going to move forward, and then just closed it down or just gave it away at that point, then we really need to be having a show about putting everybody else in the hot seat, because that's just would be ridiculous. No, what we said before is that they basically were going to, they're still going to lead, but they're going to be more in that sort of partnership role when it comes to the heavy lifting on the development, right? And we've already seen Microsoft do this with other studios. We know the Initiative and even Playground with the Fable team is doing a lot of heavy lifting with IDOS. World's Edge did almost all the heavy lifting in the development with Relic, and they still led the creative vision right in the direction there. So there's a lot of different gradient to how that can work, and we don't know the gradients to how that's going to be, but we just know that less of it was going to be a lot more partner, a lot less them internally doing as much as they were before. But any other thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think there is something exciting about the potential of maybe fresh eyes on the franchise. Just for, like we talked about the last time we kind of talked about these rumors, was it'd be cool to see other studios' takes on Halo. Not because I think that 343 needs to be replaced, or because, number company bad, Bungie good kind of mentality. More so just like I'd love for some of the other creative directors in the games industry to get the opportunity to play with the Halo IP a little bit. Something that we'll touch on later again, that I'm actually very excited about, is for a project that is, helmed in some capacity by the team at Certain Affinity. Yep. I am very much so looking forward to whether it's a mode with like what we've believed Tatanka to be thus far, or if it's like a full-fledged game that is more of a spin-offy title, probably more of an extraction shooter if I have to throw in my 2 cents in there. But I do think that the idea of other studios getting to play with the IP is interesting, but I agree with you, Abe. I don't think that there was ever real good chance that 343 was just going to stop developing the game entirely. Unfortunately, we kind of have to go off of what we know at the time, or listen to rumors, how valid they may be or not. But either way, if 343 is sort of leading the charge on main entries in the franchise moving forward, and they dole the IP out to let other studios play with it, I'd be totally fine with that.
That's best case scenario.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, do you mean like developing internally still, along with handing it out, or just managing from a set? Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Still developing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, still developing main entries and then letting other studios do like side projects, spin-offs, that kind
But
of
like
stuff.
having help with the main entries with larger studios would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like they lost almost their entire campaign team, right? Clearly, they either need to rehire like crazy, or they got a partnership up with someone else, right?
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing, and I think this is actually a good topic to stay on for just a few minutes. But I'll read a couple other things he said just to kind of prove like he's even contradicting himself a little bit from what he said on Reset Era. But he said following the release of the game, he said at the same time 343 was losing staff by the week and went through a major leadership change last fall that led some employees to brace for the reorg. So a lot of employees kind of felt things were going to be changing drastically, basically. He talks about the mass layoffs, the temporary employees that were given just a few days warning before contracts ended. Then he goes on to say the rumors that 343 would farm out development of Halo to other game companies. He said Matt Booty, head of Microsoft Game Studio, said in an interview that 343 will continue as an internal developer for Halo and as the home of Halo. Internally, Booty has assured 343 staff that even as they work with outside partners and outsourcing houses, they will remain in charge. Again, I feel like that's playing a bunch of semantics, right? Like we are, like I put that in parentheses in my own notes. It's like, okay, you are basically saying that they weren't going to be doing this, but now you're saying that they could be doing this. And I think it's just, there's a gradients to it, but let's talk a little bit about that because, I know, talking to you guys separately, there seems to be like a different temperature in terms of whether we like this or don't like this. Now, I know, so you already talked about the fact that the single, in Austin, talked about the single player and how disappointed you are that they aren't going to continue to build on that with the DLC stuff, right? Like, which was, which isn't going to happen since I think they pivoted from that and started to think about the next version of Halo. Last year in the first half of last year.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've known, it was months ago, right? It wasn't just the layoffs that led to them not doing DLC for Halo Infinite.
Right.
From what we know, around 8 months ago, they cut all plans for Halo Infinite DLC.
Well, I think it was even before that, because there was.
I feel like a lot of the rumors that we're seeing in general are just that never made it any further than very high level planning.
I do think there was a little more though, because we have had some stuff where like people have been writing for them and things like that.
They were hiring for it.
They were hiring for them too.
I mean, Halo has a writing team. Period. Right?
Yeah.
Halo 5, Halo Infinite story, for example, was not what it ended up being. Right as Halo 5 ended, there was still a writing team.
Yeah, of course.
That were constantly working on stuff.
Well, and there were some really credible people that have behind the scenes said they were working that they were initially were working on something for the DLC.
Yeah,
and
I don't
they
think
were
it was
job
just
hiring.
Like a few people talking to each other, like, "Hey, are we doing DLC?" I mean, even the way it was looked. Someone posted an old picture of the forums where the campaigns. Yeah. There was a plural on campaign on the page. You know what I mean? I feel like it was definitely inherently at some point people knew they were going to try it.
Yeah, they were hiring for. They did interviews for it. There was somebody even came out on Twitter and said, "I interviewed for the DLC." What do you mean? Like 343? Were you not like? It was almost like. I mean, what are you expecting at that point? Like basically, you're going to hire some people for the narrative-driven DLC, and they get in there and they log in the first day, and the first thing that comes up is like Dave Chappelle, like, "Gotcha, bitch." You're working on the multiplayer. It's like. Like these things were not just happening, per chance, or they were planning to do a switcheroo.
I feel like it's important too for anyone that comes out and claims that they interviewed for DLC. Like those are some pretty steep claims. That kind of stuff is incredibly NDA'd. They would get in trouble for talking about it. Period.
A lot of people are breaking NDAs
believe
these days. That's for sure.
Well, of course, but I absolutely believe that somebody was interviewed to write for Halo writing
story
content.
It could have been multiplayer.
Most likely,
I'm
thinking seasonal content. Yeah. Like not story DLC,
but
more seasonal multiplayer story stuff.
I mean, at the same time, they sold the game as a platform prior to the launch, so there was a lot of thought and idea over it being a platform and what that means regarding additional single player content on top of the multiplayer. So
Yeah.
it was easy to, it's easy to see how it could have at least been on the table at some point, even if it didn't go far.
I'd love for some like senior 343 staff in just like a couple of years to be like, yeah, no, 100%. This is what we were doing. This maybe that's not what we were doing in 2022, but it is what we were doing in 2021. It is what we were doing in 2020. As far as like what our grand plans were for the platform.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing, because I mean, there was rumblings that the changes were starting to, that they were thinking about making changes when they came out and announced that they're going to have another 6-month season after the first 6-month season. There was rumblings at that time that they were going to start looking at potentially just abandoning the DLC and going to
wasn't that when the Unreal Engine started?
Yes, I mean all of it. And interesting enough, so like even in the Schreier thing, he kind of alludes to the fact that they were starting to, basically prototype or experiment with Unreal and in terms of what the next Halo would be, right? But we won't go there yet because we're going to wait. We're going to save Unreal because I think there's going to be a lot to say with Unreal.
I mean, Tyler's mentioned it in the chat. It was people were saying around June or before June last year is when the reports were that the DLC were canceled.
Yeah, I think it was before June. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, tangent, right? I chased a squirrel. Sorry, I do that. But back to the studio and the outsourcing. So let's talk about it. Like pluses and minuses. Do you guys have any feelings on that in terms of
hard minus?
A hard minus. All right, I'll start with you, Mike.
Wait. Do you mean contractors and using contractors or contractors?
No, he means like how do you feel about Halo being?
I'm all right with it as long as it's a support studio or as long as in-house is handling the primary.
Yeah, the leads are in-house, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just I don't feel like Halo would have been Halo or Infinite would have been Infinite. I'm sorry, if the bulk of it was handed off to another studio. Even if you have some leads internally, it's just based on all of the monthly reports and stuff that we used to talk about. It just seemed like there was a lot of testing and brainstorming and work done internally.
Abe said, right? Like you wouldn't be at 343.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. And that studio already had a less than stellar reputation before Infinite came out. Yeah.
Why the hell would you not be a Halo? Like at that point, especially after Halo 5, why the hell would you go to 343 knowing you are only going to work on Halo?
Yep.
If you didn't like Halo, if you weren't the guy or the girl who thought they were going to bring it back, right?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Regardless of any of my opinions about Halo 4 or through Infinite, I never doubted that the people that worked there just loved Halo, and and especially with Infinite, going through a year delay,
and that's
getting that blowback from the initial reveal.
Oh man,
and not only did they handle it like champs, but they kind of like took advantage of the memes and kind of played into it. But it's clear that they love it, and that's why way back before all of this even happened, where people are like, give Halo to someone else, replace 343. It's like, do you really think these people would do? I'm not saying they would do terrible, but it wouldn't. Can you guarantee that they're going to do better, especially on their first try?
Like, put it on Halo. Does it want to make Halo?
Yeah,
is that a question we're asking too? Like, I'm confused here.
Exactly. Like you want to
rip and tear, Master Chief. Just
the most we can do is give a Master Chief skin in our next Doom. All right, that should be good for you guys.
we all love the series, but there's somewhat of a truth that it's cursed, and it's been like this since the beginning. Halo 3 and ODST were like the only two that didn't have a troubled development. And ODST was
Halo 3 had a very, very fucked up development. It just
Halo 2 had a really fucked up development.
Like Halo 3, though, I think
fucked up development.
Yeah,
Halo 3 didn't have a lead on it, like a creative lead on it for the first 18 months of its development.
Halo 3?
Yeah. Marty like rewrote some of the script that Joe had started while Joe was on sabbatical because of trying to recover from Halo 2.
Yeah.
Not that I like Marty. Marty can go fuck himself.
But Halo. Oh, go ahead, Sol. I see you raising your hand.
No. That was just me agreeing with Austin there.
Well, but Halo 2 just tore them
limb from limb.
Yeah. If you guys watch the documentary on that, like they have a section in there, and this is I think this was Bungie putting this together. So it's like I'm surprised they even put that out there. But they had guys were talking about sleeping under their tables, like they were like feeling like they were on the verge of death.
Don't you know, Abe?
We just need 2 more weeks. We need 2 more weeks, and Microsoft was not giving it.
That's the price. That's the price of greatness, Abe. That's the blood, sweat, and tears that you need to make greatness, man.
They delayed it a year at that point because they wanted it out in 2003. If I remember
Which
correctly.
is just ridiculous.
That's insane.
Well, I mean, God, like the fact that they built an entire E3 demo from scratch, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's not in the game."
God.
Yeah, well, they redid their engine and everything just for them to realize that it's not going to work.
Well, so let's talk about what's different then, because we know like what CE, right? CE came in really, really hot because the E3 right before it launched, people thought it was going to be just a bomb because it couldn't run. It was running at just a few frames per second on the show floor. They talked about cutting a lot of stuff there and had to rush through it. And you can see it, despite the fact it's still my favorite game of all time. So you can see where they had to like reuse a lot of assets and, you know, do things, find tricks to kind of extend the game in that short period of time. We know 2, we know 3. But today I think it's a little bit of a different environment. You can't have a whole staff of people sleep under the desk.
No, not especially not when you're like, you know, preaching about how you're not doing that anymore. Because it kind of felt like they did that with Halo 5, right? Halo 5's post-content release was phenomenal. Update after update, every month, every other month.
Yeah, and nowadays you can't get away with that and keep staff, right? Especially now that it's remote work. The other issue is that just AAA is just a lot more sophisticated and complicated now. A lot more moving parts. Teams are much bigger. Like, how big was Bungie when CE and 2 came out? It was like a couple hundred people, right? Something like that. Or
Bungie was 35 people when CE was published.
Yeah,
Jesus
they're tiny as hell.
Crazy.
That is just insane. I mean, and now you're talking about hundreds at the studio and then hundreds of more contractors. Yeah. And when you include all the development houses and everything, that's probably where you're getting those numbers, like 1,000 people on the game, right? Or over 1,000, because you just get so many.
Well, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that Infinite had like 6 satellite studios working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of support studios.
You had wasn't Coalition helping? I know.
They're in the credits.
Yeah. I mean, you look at all.
Undead Labs is in the credits. Did you know that like Undead Labs is in the credits? There's like 6 support studios in the credits.
And that's only Microsoft Studios, not counting. I'm trying to think, what was that graphic studio that they announced joining up after the initial demo reveal, after the delay? I can't remember. I mean, there's so many studios, but yeah, that's not even counting non-Microsoft studios.
It's not like managing.
I feel like I hate to hopefully not put a stop on the conversation, but like it does suck that it feels like we have this conversation so often where it's like, man, wouldn't it have been cool if it was 343 employees working on 343's games and not fucking contractors? Like people that know how the game works instead of spending half of their contract learning how the engine works.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's American.
And that's the stuff that's come out that we theorized about for the last, early last year when some of these issues happened.
And that's the thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you like the fact that it's a double whammy. It's a 1-2 punch, because it's not just that you have a bunch of contractors. It's that you have contractors that are more limited in terms of how long they can stay because of Redmond policy, combined with the fact you have a proprietary engine, which I can't even say proprietary. I'm going to keep saying that over.
That was awesome.
I can't do it. You know what I'm saying.
You had it.
That you have a bespoke, is that another word I could use, or is that
yeah, that works too.
Yeah, okay, bespoke engine that it takes a while for these developers to learn, because like what is it, Ren was out there writing on Twitter that hey, it takes these developers like 6 months to get up to speed, and then by the time you get them up to speed, they're rotating out of there, and then because they're rotating out of there, now you're compiling this tech debt with this spaghetti code that goes back to over 2 decades. So it's like all this stuff just keeps stacking. And I think that's what happened. They stacked and they stacked, and it's almost like a person that is living check to check and is like, moving balances around one month to another. And then finally they hit that limit that nobody's going to let them transfer their balance. They're all out of credit cards and they got to go file bankruptcy. I feel like 343 just basically filed tech debt bankruptcy. Is that just came to my mind? But
not even just tech debt. I mean, that I'm sure that it affected every discipline at the studio. Yeah. Some less than others. If you needed to, an artist or do something within the engine and the tools weren't ready yet, on top of learning what was there, like an engine that was still in development, I'm sure it slowed down every discipline.
Speaking of Slipspace and the engine, we should read the next paragraph. It's literally about just this in the thing you made.
Yeah, I think we should maybe start to get into the main topic of the show, being almost
the
an
meat
hour
of
in.
Are we really almost an hour?
40 minutes. 40 minutes.
Okay.
It's all your fault.
All right. I mean, we're just going to blame it on Mike. We had another person and we weren't planning on it. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So
how'd you get this number?
So they said management at 343 debated switching to Epic Games. Wait,
the one above that was talking about Slipspace and the trouble and issues.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you. So the studio's own engine, known publicly as Slipspace, has been one of the biggest points of contention over the past 2 decades. This is largely known. Based largely on old code from the 1990s and early 2000s. It's buggy. Oh, yeah, we forget. It goes all the way back to Myth, by the way. Yep. It's buggy and difficult to use.
Marathon.
Holy crap. Yeah, we're talking. This is
94.
There's a lot of... it's like piling up. It's buggy and difficult to use and has been the source of headaches for some developers on Halo Infinite. People familiar with the development said several multiplayer modes that are nearly finished, such as Extraction and Assault, both popular in previous Halo games, have yet to been released in part because of the issues involving the engine. Management at 343 debated switching to Epic Games' popular Unreal Engine, but it wasn't until late last year when previous studio head Bonnie Ross and engine lead David Berger departed and Pierre Heinz took over that the firm finally decided to pivot to Unreal. This switch, we'll save that.
Let's talk about Unreal first. Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So 4109.
All right, who wants to go first on it? You know what?
Do you mean Unreal or do you mean Slipspace?
Do either. Both. I mean, Slipspace to Unreal.
All connected.
A lot of stuff that I feel like we've seen developers talk about that we're working on Infinite was like, hey, if you were familiar with the Halo engine before and like you came over to Slipspace, it was great to work in. Like there were so many improvements. It is a good engine to develop in if you understand how it works already.
Yeah.
Them deciding to move over to Unreal, I have voiced this concern at least twice on this show. Is I think the concern, and Schreier even brings it up in the article, is like, I think the only thing that keeps Halo relevant at all is not how great the campaigns are, is not how fun the story is,
not how good it looks,
not how good the games look. It is how good it feels to play.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's impossible for an Unreal Engine title to feel like Halo, but the amount of effort that's about to have to go into making the Unreal Engine feel like Halo is going to be a monumentous task.
Yeah.
It's just monumental was the word I meant to say.
I was about to say, I'm like, dude, I always say monumentous.
I flubbed that one.
It's going to be a massive ask, and it's a big risk.
It's crazy to imagine this game switch. Here's the thing. If Halo Infinite 2 Electric Boogaloo comes out and it doesn't feel like Halo anymore,
it's done.
It's done.
DOA.
Like,
done.
I know that this has been such a consistent thing that we've been talking about. It's like, it's like every year since like 2004. It's like, oh, Halo's dead now. Halo 1 was the best. Halo 2 was the best. Halo 3 was the best. The next game is make or break. If season 3 of Halo Infinite is good, it's dead. Like, it's such a tired conversation to have. But I genuinely think that if a Halo game, like a mainline Halo title, or even Tatanka, whatever Tatanka ends up being, if that releases and it doesn't feel like Halo, then the IP is going to fucking dry rot.
I wouldn't go the far with Tatanka. If that's like a sidestep battle royale,
the thing with Tatanka would fail then is what I think he's saying is if Tatanka doesn't play as good as Halo plays, it's not taking off.
I think Tatanka has to succeed though.
I think it would depend. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think there's a lot more pressure on that succeeding now. But if they sold it as a side thing, like if it had ODSTs, for example, and I'm pretty sure it's expected to have Spartan, but if it had ODSTs and it felt different, like don't get me wrong, if there's still that core feel when it comes to the
gunplay,
aiming and the magnetism and the friction, all of that stuff, I think is core to Halo's feel, no matter what. But if it, if it felt less bouncy, felt more grounded, I don't think if it was an ODST, I think that can work.
ODST implies lower TTK, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Not for Halo fans, No.
But I guess it depends on how they sell what Tatanka is supposed to be.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is, so this is something Phil touched on in an interview with IGN as well, is we were talking about Halo Infinite, we were talking about 343, and how they finally got it. And they did, right? They released a game with a stellar campaign, a stellar multiplayer. But then it stumbled at the one thing a multiplayer game releasing today cannot stumble on, right? Which is post-content release. And if the reason for that stumbling was slip space, which it sure looks like it is, if the reason that they couldn't release updates quicker than 6 months, if there's the reason that infection still isn't in the game and won't be until like June this year, you know what I mean? If the reason for that is the engine they're using, then I can see why they're considering the Switch, because it is the only way you keep this IP relevant for the future, right? You can't do the same thing. You can't 4 years from now they release a great Halo game and then boom, it also stops releasing content 4 or 5 months. You can't do that, right? Not anymore. It's not acceptable anymore. And for a battle royale, even more so. Imagine releasing a battle royale or a battle royale like game that's phenomenal, that plays amazing, that has millions of people playing for the first month because holy crap, this is awesome. And then the next update is 4 months later. No, you're done. You're done, right? Like the player base will drop, the people drop, the revenue will drop, the investment won't go anywhere. And that's what I think is their primary reason they're even considering the Switch or have made Switch.
The only cosmetic you get is a Santa hat, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, the cat ears. I don't think they'll stop those.
That kind of brings it back to the contractors, though, because the benefits to Unreal would be
there
less
are many benefits.
There's many benefits, but
there
the
are
onboarding benefits, I guess I should say, the onboarding benefits would be less so if they weren't kicking people out after 18 months.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not saying, that's not to say that if they had fewer contractors and more in-house or more permanent staff, that would fix all the issues with the contents rolling out, but it just wouldn't hurt. That's for sure. Because, like I said, it's not just the programming side, it's also the art side. It's also every aspect that needs to be on board that's going to delay the progress of whatever DLC
one look at Fortnite
content
shows
they're working
that
on.
Clearly there's a way to release a crap load of content on Unreal.
Yeah, but Epic has a pretty bad history of crunch and stuff like that. So it's honestly my personal idea is that they just shouldn't have gone for this route. They shouldn't have gone for the free to play. They shouldn't have gone for they should have stayed more true to Halo, even if that meant a smaller scale or what have you. I would have been fine with a traditional on the point A to point B, but just make it a giant canyon instead of.
But the issue there is that gaming has moved on, right? Like the entire industry has kind of moved on from a certain point. Halo 4 is the last Halo game to have map packs. Halo 5's post-content updates were unsustainable, so they can't do that again. So the question is, what do you do then to support the game, right?
I think the answer is a little bit of A and a little bit of B. I think you release the game with the expectation of free content releases, and then in the future introduce microtransactions. Say, hey, this is not something we're even remotely interested in doing from the get-go. This is something that we're going to be putting in the game as we kind of go along. The store isn't going to be like insane. We're not ever going to charge $20 for anything. because we charged you for the game. We'll charge you $2 suit of armor if you want a suit of armor, or
They would
whatever,
still charge
whatever.
$20 because every other game is doing the same thing, free to play or not.
I mean, for sure.
It's just the
More
nature.
so. I think what's important is, I think if Infinite hadn't been marketed with the live service game on everybody's mind, then content expectations would have been a little different. Yeah. I think a lot of Halo's problems in the last 10 years in general has been setting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think Halo 4 through Infinite. I don't think that Bungie had that problem, but it's not because Bungie good, number company bad. It is only because Bungie didn't know what they were doing 90% of the time. They were just like, let's just make a fun game and then we'll fucking put it out and we'll figure it out later.
Well, and we didn't know what they were doing half the time, right? Like, that's the thing with, like
every Halo game
years between
post-launch support, though, starting literally from the first game, right? So that's been an expectation of the franchise. I mean,
what was Halo 1?
Starting from the second game, sorry. Map packs, releases Mythic map pack, blah, 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 1, 2, etc. That's been an expectation from the franchise for a very long time, right? More than 15 years or so. So any new Halo game releasing, whether they say it or not, is going to have the assumption that it's going to have post-launch support, some kind of live service aspect of the game. So I don't think that's in their control. Really.
It's hard to release a AAA game today without that. I'll say this though,
they did a bad job of setting expectations because they told people this is what we're doing, and then they didn't do it.
Well, that's true. And I think they had the intention.
And the 10-year stuff was a stupid thing to say. It's like the one job.
Well, and like it's not even what he meant. It's not. He didn't.
It's not exactly.
Halo Infinite is the 10-year plan. It's Halo Infinite is kicking off the next 10 years of Halo.
God. Yeah. But people will say what they will, right? I mean, people are still to this day quoting Perfect Dark as a quadruple A game. So
hey, I thought it was going to be a 10-year platform because that's how I thought it was being sold, and I spoke out against it then. But
oh, of course. Well, and I think interpreting the quote, sorry, Abe, it's really fun, like to make not letting you talk right now. I think the expectation was set improperly, like regardless of like the verbatim quote versus what like the zeitgeist that is the public decided or not decided but did interpret it as. There's not a whole lot that you can do about that. You said these words. This is how people anticipated. This is what people anticipated you meant, and you never came out to change your mind about it. You never publicly said, "Hey guys, that's not what we meant." They
got to do a better job of that.
Didn't set expectations appropriately, and they haven't ever done a great job of setting expectations. And again, that goes all the way back to Halo 1. That is not a 343 specific problem. I think what happens if you don't say anything about post-release content plans is people anticipate something at least similar to what they did with 5, and that would have been fine. Yeah, I think if they had gotten closer and closer and closer to the game releasing and then been like, hey, so this is what we're planning on doing. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, they put out that Vidoc 6 months before the game released. That's setting way too much expectation. Like the way they talked about Forge and co-op and all of that stuff, even 6 months before release, really had us thinking all of that stuff's going to be there day one. That's not the conversation that this is. I'm so sorry I'm rambling about this.
No, but 100% you're right. Like, that's been a problem that has plagued Halo, sure, but it's plagued 343 more because this is a more of a connected era we're living in, right? This is an era where we're seeing everything that Dev is saying, where they're communicating directly with the players left and right.
Every player is online, unlike when people were playing like Halo 3, even on Xbox Live. Like the amount of people that I used to play Halo with that knew nothing, could not have told you the name of the studio that made it. Nowadays, it's like, where's my epic Fortnite coins, bro? I need my Unreal Engine epic coins.
And even the nature of communication has changed. It's a lot more instant now. Back then, we were still using forums, right? Waypoint forums and things like that.
They had the Bungie, was it weekly or monthly? It was
so Bungie had the Bungie weekly update back then.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like Bungie was much more in the background, I guess, or bunkered down. And you really can't do that these days, at least not with the highly.
Only had their weekly update and like the occasional Vidoc. Other than that, there was no real constant communication. Even like 343, I think 343 communicates well. They just don't get ideas across well. They don't.
The messaging.
The messaging is bad. The communication is
I mean, you
good.
need to
Thank
assume that people
Yeah.
will take your words, will mind the crap out of them, and twist them and turn them however way they possibly can. There's a reason PR speak is PR speak. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
This
let's
is
kind of
very
step back because, like, you know, I get what you guys are saying, and I do think things are different, but I think that really kind of ties back to the point of the Unreal Engine, right? Why we're looking at this? Because Mike, I when you're talking, I was like thinking about, you know, yeah, what if they had all of the employees that they would ever need? We talked about this on previous shows. We used to, you know, we were frustrated with the fact it's like, you know, Call of Duty has all these thousands of developers that are going to be there, and that's all they do is support Call of Duty. And
It's still
and
in trouble right now, just for reference.
yeah, and we know games are bigger; they take more people. You know, it's a lot harder. The thing is, like this, I have the same concern a lot of Halo as Halo fans do, as somebody that plays this game, and I know this is just my opinion. It's still, in my opinion, the gameplay loop, the sandbox, the way it feels is still the best thing in the market. It's why I still play
By
it
far.
more than any other game, is because I just love the way this thing feels. And if you F with that even a little bit, you know, that is why I'm here, right? It's not because I want the next, you know, the next piece of clothing to put on my.
If all I
my
wanted was just new
Spartan
content at a really quick pace, I'd be playing Fortnite for the last 3 years, right?
Well, yeah, but that's why here we go. Like this is where things have changed. Now you do need to come out with content regularly, and I do think that they've reached a point because they had not built up 343 in the, you know, for the long term before. I think they don't have that leeway to go to say they want to do that now, especially now. Like, how the hell are you going to recruit in this under this climate? How are you going to bring in hundreds of developers into 343?
I think one thing you should say is I don't think it was 343's plan to completely shutter their campaign team. I don't think they ever had that idea. Like, hey, let's do this. It was a situation they were forced into. No, yeah, the situation they were forced into because of the layoffs, and they made their choices. They picked what to prioritize, which is the multiplayer right now, and they did what they had to, right?
Yeah. But I do think that they've been backed into a corner now, right? Like, regardless of how they got there, like, would have, could have, should have, they should have did this differently. We can go back and talk about all the things from communication to how they should have set up the studio, how they should have set expectations, but they are where they are today. And I think that they're probably looking at it like, okay, we can't work our way out of this from just being the way we've always been and just throwing more contractors at it, trying to hire more people. And so I think that's what they're looking at now. You're looking at a different strategy. And if you're going to have to go outside of 343, you probably need to be able to figure out how to leverage a tool that these support studios can pick up quickly, right? Because they're probably hiring Unreal developers.
It's a lot easier to put on the job description 5 years of Unreal Engine experience than 5 years of Slipspace Engine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like where's Slipspace Engine experience going to get you these days? So I do think that they're kind of cornered into basically needing to do this for efficiency.
But that's essentially saying that they're looking for a solution that they created or to a problem they created.
Absolutely. They did create this problem, right?
My one concern here is like, I would prefer them, and obviously it's not going to go this way. I never get what I want. No. What my concern is, this is going to give them even more of a leeway to lean more into the contractor side, because Unreal would give that additional flexibility. And
did you delete Jamie's stuff, Austin?
No, I tried to put him in timeout as a joke, and it didn't.
You timed him out too.
You timed him out.
Jamie, we're sorry. So why did you delete all Jamie's stuff?
I did that.
Jamie,
if you're still listening, we're sorry.
He made
Austin
a joke.
is fired.
He was like, I don't know how Abram Mike.
300 seconds.
So I didn't set that; it just automatically did it.
Oh,
Twice?
Jamie, that is terrible. Oh my God. All right. Well, Jamie, when you come back here, you can cuss out Austin all you want. We're not.
But I mean, Mike, here's the issue, right? In terms of a problem of their making is, I'd call it more so a problem of just the industry right now. A problem that's already the problem of releasing a live service game or even a multiplayer game. Period. Right now, EA just canceled a potential single player Titanfall game. Right? Literally, yesterday, day before, or something like that. We got the report. that was canceled out. The reports that, well, not the reports, but the rumor was the reason they chose the campaign team to shutter was because the revenue wasn't what they wanted it to be, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So like if the focus of these companies is to make money through multiplayer games, and they need the content, they need to keep bringing players back, which there's various ways. I know Tavish will disagree with me if it's just content, but that's a big part of it.
Here's the thing though, the multiplayer isn't going away, so they're going to still have to maintain and staff for the slip space side.
Well, that's the question though, right? Is how long will they support Halo Infinite? That's a big question right now. That's up.
That was actually a question I had on my list of things here.
I think
we'll get into that.
I love this, and I'm gonna throw my 2 cents into that ring real quick. Is sorry. I think that Infinite support will slowly peter off over the next year and a half. I give it 18 months. And then it will be in like maintenance mode, like MCC is now. I think that we'll get some really cool stuff over the next, 18 months.
Basically, end of 24, right? So 3 years from release.
4 seasons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get another like 3-4 seasons on top of season 3. So we'll end around season 6. I think hilariously, Abe, without the timeline, you and I talked about this the other day, and I was still on about that same estimate. I say that Infinite is fully supported for 18 more months, and then they start bringing in people who have experience developing in Unreal.
No, yeah, I totally see that, because they can, and they wouldn't be wrong.
They can pivot to Unreal now, honestly. I mean, the people that they have there probably know Unreal. I mean, developers these days in AAA,
map designers, things like that.
Yeah, they could probably take all those guys that are working on and girls that are working on Slip Space and move them to.
I want to agree with you, Austin, but I think there's a caveat, which is I think it'll depend on how well the next couple seasons do. If they see that they can consistently keep players at like a relatively high place, if they see that the seasons are bought by a decent amount of people, if they see it's making money, then I could see them extending it for another 2-3 years. But at the same time, if they doesn't do well, if it stays where it is, 23, 22, 21 for the next year, I can see them dropping support.
That's the thing. It has to improve to
exactly.
make that worth it.
Like right now, all they've promised is up to season 4, right? Which is June 27th is the date right now written.
There's darkness after season 4.
I get the sense that Austin has something to say.
I have things to say. Here's the thing: is Tatanka? I'm not asking the question. If this is rhetorical. Is Tatanka a part of Infinite, or is it not? If it is, then the support continues. If it is a separate SKU, separate game, different engine, all of that, Infinite support guarantee is gone within 18 months.
Not if it plays well. Not if it does well. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to kill a game that's making good revenue. I don't see it. Especially not if they're actually able to get the season's 3-4 months. If they're in that position, which we're not 100% sure they are, because technically season 4 hasn't released yet. So they haven't actually had a 3.5 month season yet. You know what I mean? But if they're able to get their pipeline in that order, and if it's doing well, I don't see why they wouldn't keep it up.
Money speaks, right? So like,
exactly.
So does that mean in your head that even if Tatanka is a good standalone game and isn't related to Infinite, that if Tatanka is doing well, that means Infinite's probably also going to do well?
Yes, I don't think they'll cannibalize as much as people.
Yeah, I don't see them cannibalizing each other.
I know, Nick. Wild, right, buddy?
Well, I mean, money does talk, and Nick's right. The thing is, where are you going to put your money right now? Like, I think Austin's theory is probably correct, only because I do believe, and we've talked about this before, that Halo would have done a lot better had they had the support and everything. But I think most people agree and understand that the arena shooter, the traditional type of shooter that it is, despite how well it plays, has a limited appeal because of the skill gap, because of how we've
really talked about this, though. I don't think 343 expects the game to hit like Fortnite and Apex and GTA levels, right? But as long as it's hitting Destiny levels or Minecraft levels, then that's, I want to say, is good for them.
Let's slow down.
Minecraft
does not. No. Minecraft does not do that well on Xbox, guys.
Gotcha.
On console, it's only
Destiny
13,
does
14.
do pretty well though. So
what I mean is, for a very long time, Halo was ahead of Minecraft and Rocket League.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like if they can get Infinite to even that level, to basically hovering around the 10 most played, to people, and also the thing with quicker seasons is people buy season passes. I don't know what it is about them, but people will not spend a cent in the store, but they'll buy a damn season pass. You know
You're
what I
damn
mean?
right. And you know
You get
what? I
better-
never have to buy a season pass again because now they
Exactly.
have $10 worth of credits.
But then they have the money, and then they'll buy stuff on stores, even one thing, and then they're like, "Damn it! Now I gotta buy something more
Yeah.
credits." For
Well,
it."
that's the brilliance of including fucking currency in your season
Yep.
pass. You
Yep.
trick people into making them think, "Oh, I don't ever have to spend money again. Here's my $10. I
Yeah.
got it. I got all of them, and then I bought fucking cat ears."
Oh, by the way, speaking of, for anyone watching and still playing the game, the Rivian shoulders are currently back in rotation. One of the coolest cosmetics in the game, and they're only like 350 credits. If you have the credits lying around, might be worth picking up. I'll give you money 3 for 3.
There's our commercial.
And then
I don't
Microsoft
see,
and
like,
Microsoft's
the one-
lawyers for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, you know, we talked about this before, but I think I'm probably more in line with Austin. I think because of the Forge, because people can make maps that look almost as good as develop. I mean, not almost. I think some of them look as good, sometimes more interesting than dev-made maps.
Yeah.
You know, I think that if you had somebody that worked with the community on that stuff, figure out a way to be agile with rotating them into playlists. And I think that's one of the reasons why Forge has not really done anything for the game yet, is because they don't know how to make it accessible. It's a lot of work, and it can be very frustrating to try to experience Forge with other players right now. If they could bring them into
Yes.
official
Playlists and things like that.
playlist, do
Yep.
that stuff, start rotating them
And
through.
if here's one thing, like kind of like a hidden gun, not hidden gun. There's a metaphor here that I'm missing. All right, but kind of like a potential is if they're able to pull off PvE in Forge, which it does seem like they're working on, that alone can
Yes.
bring life to this game for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's other things that the rumor to bring into Forge that are really potentially cool. So, I think that the game, so Halo Infinite itself, it won't die, but I do think that the way we know it, I think that, and Austin's trying to distract us all again, but I think the way that we know it in terms of this 3-month season thing is probably going to be a short-lived
So, a
experience.
question for you guys: you don't see Forge development slowing down at all?
It has to.
After-
If they're switching to Unreal, it has to slow, no matter what. I mean, if they've made the decision to fully switch to Unreal Engine, Forge has to
think that-
follow it. It can't otherwise. You know what I
Oh.
mean?
It will.
You mean
Yeah, I think
porting Forge over to Unreal?
If they can't port Forge to Unreal, then they shouldn't switch to Unreal.
I
That's
think
how
they're
look at
already
it.
working on Forge to Unreal right now, honestly. I think that's
I
happening.
don't know. I mean, they have a lot of people working on
I
Halo
mean,
Infinite
I
Forge.
think that we need to be very clear that like developing Forge in Unreal Infinite, fucking Unreal Engine is gonna be a massive task.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're starting the whole game from scratch if they move over to Unreal, right?
Yep.
Forge on top of that, like we're not even just talking about the ability for players to use essentially Unreal Engine within Unreal Engine,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
the ability to use assets that aren't in the game, the ability to manipulate objects and game modes and scripting,
Yep.
all of that. I think it's going to take a while before Unreal any version of Forge exists in Unreal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if Tatanka comes out and it's an Unreal Engine made game, it will not have Forge support. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
right,
Unless
not
it comes
about-
out in like 6 years.
Because what
Yeah,
you're talking about is basically like a translation layer, like a visible translation between what the tools are, you know, within whatever 343's fork of it is, and giving players control of that. And that's
But it needs to, though. I mean, you can't do this again. You can't release a Forge this robust, this amazing, and then next game be
And
like,
then
hey
take a step
guys,
back.
no Forge again. for
I
a
don't
year
think they're
or
going to
two."
take a step back. I think the one thing that could move forward is Forge. I do think they're already working on it. I think that a
yeah.
lot. I think they've already been working with Epic on a lot of this stuff. I mean, they have multiple studios that have been working with Epic. That, you know, like Coalition, Ninja Theory are cutting edge with Epic's engine. There's already been stuff out there that they've already been working with them.
I mean,
and
we've
that
seen
Forge-
Halo in Unreal, though, right? It's not like it's a new concept necessarily. We've
No,
seen
it's
people
not.
try it, prototype. We know 343 have
in Halo
prototyped it. We know
3.
they've considered the Switch for a while, right?
Yeah. So I think all that stuff could be all happening right now. And the thing is, I think the next time you move over to an Unreal version of Forge, and I think that Epic is already looking at doing some of the stuff with Fortnite, But with their Quixel, with their ability to kind of import your own assets and things like that, and kind of remix your own textures and all that, I think that's all stuff that's going to be possible in like the next iterations of what these build modes are. So I think there is a lot of potential. I mean, that's long, like you're saying. That's not something you're going to see in 2 years. You're not going to see infinite transfer over to Forge or transfer over to.
No, speaking of working on Forge, Tatanka, right? We've been talking about it for a while. The report is that it moved over to Unreal, but we do know, kind of hard proof technically, that December last year it had updates through On Infinite, so on Slipspace, right? So did that switch happen literally just last month? That switch to Unreal, or is that report not as?
So it could be
stable?
multiple things there, right? It could be Subspace is stable, right? Like the Subspace engine is stable, and what a lot of studios will do, even if they're moving over to a different engine, is they will prototype on what they have available to them immediately. Subspace is stable enough to prototype in 100%. If they're trying to nail down like what features do we want to include, and aren't comfortable with taking like whatever unstable build they may have right now in Unreal and messing with that, then it's possible that they're experimenting in Slipspace. It's incredibly possible that they have a smaller version of. No, absolutely, but it's
like
it's
2-3
possible
years,
that
right?
they have
But they
a very small version of it running in Slipspace and have decided we want more players, we want more modes, we want more content. We're already going to move the franchise over to this other engine anyway. Let's just fucking do it.
Would they scrap like 2 to 3 years worth of work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I think they would. They do that. They've done
not-
that.
They did it. They did.
It doesn't.
Square Enix did it with Kingdom Hearts 3.
It doesn't necessarily have to
Scale
be
down.
like scrapping everything. Like you can still carry over ideas.
Yeah.
You can still.
You can carry over assets. You can carry over so much. It wouldn't be a full top to bottom reset.
I mean, it could go in a few different ways. It could be outright canceled, or it could be changed to how it originally was intended to be in Slipspace. Moving it to a different engine may, whether it's forced or whether it opens possibilities or what have you, I don't know. But it could.
Infinite has a hard time handling 8 players at once, let alone 24. I couldn't imagine trying to put 100 players on a map with Infinite's like networking setup. No fucking way.
No,
I'd rather not.
Oh my
play
god!
it.
You mean I wouldn't have to check my ping like Jamie is saying every few seconds?
BR modes aren't exactly known for their perfect networking and ping, though. To be fair, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people play them super competitively. They really should.
they're better than Halo.
To be fair,
I mean,
you think
more
so?
stable
You think
than
so,
Halo.
right?
I mean, I played. Yeah, I think they're still better than Halo. If we're not talking about Battlefield or Call of Duty, like we're talking like Apex.
Warzone,
Fortnite.
which is apparently not in a good state right now. But
No, but like Apex, Fortnite, hell, I'd say even PUBG has better netcode than
after like
Halo
6 years
right
of
now.
development.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's all of this. Yes, we've had Schreier reporting. Yes, technically, but even his wording, right? Look at how he words them
Tatanka
switching
thing is
over to
an
Unreal. 343 will explore using Unreal Engine.
I see. I see that as a good sign that they're going to move. You don't get rid of
Probably
the fact that the lead engineer left, the architect of the engine.
That was a flag.
Yeah, right there. To me said that they're leaning more and more over the Unreal. And trust me, I don't want that to happen.
I think they're going to try hard internally to get Halo working on Unreal. But I think even internally, if they don't get it, they won't pursue it. Is how what I
and that's probably where,
like we got with Halo 4, where Josh Holmes got up on a panel one day and was like, "Oh yeah, we rebuilt a classic Halo game. We fucking throw it away."
Yeah. Like they should know, just like how we said earlier today, that the biggest risk with moving to Unreal, even though there's so many pros, so many faster development, faster content, it's gonna look better, probably, almost definitely, right? So many pros. If it doesn't feel like Halo, if it doesn't play like Halo, and yeah, Nick, if you're in the chat, I don't know if you are, if you're not, but Halo has a feel. All right, Halo's 1 to 6 and Reach have a feel.
Yeah,
and
he said earlier that it was a good feel in Halo.
And Nick is adamant that Halo has no like connected feel. They're all different games, blah, blah, blah. Anyways,
Well, no, I know. I read his comments. I do think he gets that, but I think what his point was is that Unreal games can feel good too, which
they can. No one's saying Infinite can't. Sorry, Halo can't feel like Halo and Unreal, right? No one's saying that. But we're saying is, or at least I'm saying is, there's a risk, and it's a really big damn risk, man. Because if it doesn't feel like Halo, it's over.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like, the IP will rot. Like, it will rot. Even like, because the thing is like, it relies on people like Dr. Disrespect, who was a big Halo player, coming back to the IP in a big way with something like a BR or whatever Tatanka might be.
Transition.
And if it doesn't feel good, then he won't play it, and he won't convince his fans to play it. We need Tim the Tatman to play it. We need Dr. Disrespect to play it. Unfortunately, that's just the case. Anyway, please.
No, no, you can keep going on this, but let's because this gives us an opportunity to do a transition into our third topic. So basically, I'm going to read just one paragraph from, or just a few sentences from Schreier's, and then also from Windows Central, because Jez was kind of calling out some of the stuff last year as well. But he said, like, this switch will start a new game code called named Tatanka. According to people familiar with the plans, that project, which 343 is developing alongside the Austin, Texas-based game studio Certain Affinity, started off as a battle royale, but it may evolve in different directions. And then I'll go down to what Jez said, or what at least what Windows Central said, reporting on what Jez said. He said, so Windows Central basically said that last year, like, they reported on Tatanka, calling it a battle royale mode that would be compatible with Halo Infinite's Forge tools. Windows Central corroborated the detail that 343 Industries plans to move development to Unreal, writing internally there was a fierce tug-of-war over the change, with one camp of developers desiring the switch and another arguing that Halo should remain on Slipspace. According to Windows Central, there was also a version of Tatanka built on Halo's existing Slipspace engine. It may be quite some time before we see the results of Halo running on an Unreal Engine. And just to kind of also add on, and I don't have the tweet in front of me, Bathrobe Smart also, they data mined some stuff. As late 2022, there was the CA mode was had Slipspace assets in it. So if they are moving this over to Unreal, like you guys said, it's not 100% of a start over, because yes, developers can port assets from one engine to next. So they have assets built, they have the design built, they can take all that over. But it probably will be longer. We're probably looking, and I think that's one of the reasons why initially I think Tatanka was rumored to be something that might have been late this year. Now people are saying it could be late. You know, it could be a couple years away. I mean, at this point. So
it sounds like more of a reboot than anything else.
Yeah,
of
it
the
does
idea.
sound like a reboot.
Which would make sense if they're switching engines.
Yeah, yeah.
But you don't develop a BR in a year or two, you know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that. So let's talk about that. What are your guys' thoughts on a? First of all, Halo BR.
Already talked about it.
Yeah, we did. I mean, based on the stuff that's come out here, I mean, any additional thought?
Halo BR needs.
One thing they did mention is it may not be a BR. It might just be something else.
Yeah.
So are you hoping it's something else?
I think the something else could be an Escape from Tarkov style extraction shooter.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Because I think they've noticed the BR craze starting to slow down just a little bit, and I feel like Halo would be a little too late to hit that in a way that's super meaningful. Not that it couldn't do well. I think that a Halo BR would do well. I think that Halo has the right gameplay for it. But I'd be.
Is it slowing down though? I mean, if Warzone 2 released and it did stupid numbers. Fortnite had
it did great numbers at release, but it is significantly like Warzone 2 has been one of the fastest Call of Duty population drop-offs in that franchise's history. Yeah.
There
were articles all about it months ago. It was not great. And I think there's excitement for something like that.
Most played.
No, of course, but they still lost like 30% of their population in a weekend.
Yeah.
The problem at that point is that Call of Duty is just so massive. But anyway,
yeah, honestly,
30% of their population is triple what Infinite is getting on a daily basis. which is a joke. Everybody, like, calm down.
No, don't worry about it.
I just thought about
But if
people
they're gonna-
listening to this being like,
If they're going to target to be the most played game, right? Why wouldn't they pick the genre that's still dominating the most played lists on every console released?
because why would you start worrying about putting out a game that's a year out, even if it's still on Slipspace, probably a year out? Why worry about putting that kind of money into it when, like, Halo's reputation right now anyway is failing to capitalize on things that are fun? Like, the fact that Infinite didn't have a BR at release means that maybe it's too late for Halo to do a straight up, Warzone 2, Fortnite, PUBG style BR. Maybe it's time that they capitalize on the insane popularity that Escape from Tarkov is seeing.
Yeah,
and other
Not on
games
console,
like
that
though,
kind of
right?
that as a BR fan, that kind of appeals to the same crowd or similar enough crowd.
I mean,
because-
Halo is the first real console FPS. Why not bring another subgenre to console?
Because you still need to focus the console crowd, because Halo's they cannot target the PC crowd because they tried that with Infinite and they failed miserably in their PC build, and the results spoke for themselves. You know what I mean?
Well, that
I
means
don't
they
think
didn't
it's-
target the PC crowd.
Well, they
I'm
targeted in
not
the
saying
sense
that,
hey, we're going to
Tarkov
have a PC
should
build.
or Tarkov. You know what I mean? To
Yes,
Tatanka.
yeah, a game like that. Because the issue is, I mean, go to any of the lists.
I think it's important to not waste money and resources for this IP on another game mode that is just going to land flat.
Yep.
I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that there's the chance of it. And
Infinite didn't land flat,
I
though.
think
It landed really strong. 3 months later, it went flat. But let's not. I know I've brought this up many times, but it dominated these lists. It was right next to Apex Legends for a while.
Of course,
right?
I'm not saying that the BR is gonna land and not land well. I'm saying that
They
needs
need to keep
be
it well.
sustainable.
Yeah,
it
100%.
has to whatever this
has
is
to
has to
keep
be a
people playing
huge
it.
injection of players.
Right.
Is what.
But like, if you want the huge injection, why not pick the genre that's still in the top and will still be in the top next year and will still be in the top 3 years from now? You know what I mean? Because it's not going anywhere. Take a look at the top list played. Apex is up there. Fortnite's up there. Warzone's up there.
You can kind
I
of
got
argue
so much to
though,
say that I'm going to wait.
you-
Because
you can
so
kinda
you already
say,
know
though-
I'm coming for you because we've argued about this in the Discord.
you can kind of say though that it being that popular of a genre,
Makes it
gives
difficult to
less
break into.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, less room for growth. and
Apex
stuff.
had the
And don't
same
get me
thought
wrong,
until it broke right in.
yeah, but when Apex, it was only Fortnite really and
PUBG. Fair enough.
PUBG.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
That's
like,
true.
you know,
And there are many field
don't get me wrong,
examples,
I
right?
still think that Halo can work as a
Absolutely.
VR. Absolutely. Like, but here's the thing, and I'm not sure many people agree with me. It has to be a kind of big departure from Halo.
It has. Yeah.
Like
fair enough.
I don't think Spartans work well in a BR setting.
No.
With
I think
rechargeable
it'd have to
shields
be
and all that stuff.
ODSTs and stuff.
Yeah, it would have to be ODSTs. You have to find armor in the
You know,
field.
I actually disagree. I think it needs its own identity. The reason Apex remained as popular as it was is because it made its own identity. And Apex has a really high TTK, by the way, for reference. You have a lot of shields, you have a lot of armor,
But
you don't die
Apex's
easily.
identity is through it being a hero shooter type of BR. And
Yeah.
I don't want Halo to go in that
Oh, hell
direction
no. Please
at
no.
all.
Not with the 10-foot pole, please.
So I think leaning in the more ODST aspect would, but that's just me. And then also taking advantage of things like the brute.
When
the banished
ODST, you
AI.
mean basically weaker player characters, right? Is what
I
you
mean,
mean.
unless you
ODST.
armor up.
Give me a lore reason for Spartans not having rechargeable shields, basically.
Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite, you pick up new armor pieces throughout the game, you get new abilities. Same exact thing in the BR.
No, but
do
like
you mean?
literally recharging armor. Like no BR has armor that just there you go. There's all your health
Call of
back.
Duty has recharging health, and it annoys the hell out of me. You know,
That's been a series staple for a
but
while.
but at the same time, I like what Battlefield and Call of Duty do with the armor planks. I think that is, I think you mix in the armor planks with, what was that was in all the Halo games? The foam, the biofoam.
Yeah.
You know, that's your health. You know, ODST already has armor. You put in the armor planks into your whatever jacket.
Also, I don't think
your
lore
vest.
reason is on the top of their list of doing or not
No,
doing
but
something
like,
for
but
BR
if
games.
they lean into that for inspiration, then it can really sell a Halo.
I mean,
you
what
know,
if you
'cause,
start
like,
off as Mark 1 Spartan for Spartan armor? Sorry, Mark like 3 or 4.
Just
or
make
something,
it
and then you keep
ODSTs.
getting more and
I
more.
think that there's no reason to like build out a whole lore reason for us being, you know,
Mark 1,
like Mark 1.
I don't think that's
I don't
probably the
think- I
best
don't think
Spartan
Spartans
idea
have
that I've
to
heard for a
sell-
Battle Royale.
I mean,
So
no,
all the
it's
people
not,
that were
it's not
hired
a
for
bad idea at
narrative
all.
were hired to figure this out.
It's just the game
Sorry,
doesn't
Abe,
need to exist
Austin,
on lore reasons. No, it's fine. I think what it does when everyone in the chat is saying it right now is like it just needs to do something unique, and it coming down to just being another standard 100 player.
Fully agreed. It needs a Halo identity.
Yeah,
100%.
it just needs something to stand out in that space. So maybe it's not exactly an Escape from Tarkov clone, but like even Call of Duty has modes that are different than the BR stuff, and those are still popular amongst their players.
And even Call of Duty has its own identity. I mean,
I think the coolest thing that they could do is I think the coolest thing they could do is bring a game that is Escape from Tarkov-esque with a BR mode secondarily. Like announce this game and be like, hey, so this is what we're putting out on this date, but we are going to give you a traditional BR as well.
I'll say this, and I'll die on this sword or this hill. If there's a traditional BR and there's like a cloud system or something that circles in, it has to be flood spores. And if you die, you
of course,
flood.
Then you get to run around and play like a little mini infection game.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of it also
wouldn't
depends.
Even feel like I need to play. Just let my little flood AI go in and wreak havoc. I can watch from the sideline.
A lot of this depends on whether Tatanka is built on slipspace or not, in my opinion. Because if it is, then it's gonna have your Spartan playing. It's gonna have your armor that you've unlocked and spent years on. You know what I mean? feel like that's a no-brainer. But Abe, we have cut you off for like.
No, that's fine. That's fine because I talk a lot sometimes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and we talked about this in the Discord. So, but I mean, I've actually been firmly against just a ABR, and the reason is, and I know people, and you make some good points about it being high up in the charts, and that it's probably not going to be dead. But the thing you got to think about is, when PUBG came out and then Fortnite came out, they had very distinct identities. Fortnite at the time that Apex came out still had the builders. They didn't have the no builder mode, right? So Apex filled the niche for people that were curious about BR, but thought PUBG was too slow and Fortnite just had too much crap going on. It filled the niche. And then Call of Duty is Call of Duty. If Activision came out and marketed us throwing our own shit at each other under the Call of Duty name, that thing would be popular. You think so? This is a good one. You better run.
When they release a bad COD game, people go to the previous year's COD game. Like what Cold War was it? People stopped playing Cold War. They're like, I don't like this, and they started playing Modern Warfare again.
Yeah, the point is though they have jillions and jillions of people that only play Call of Duty, right? That
and
only play Call of Duty.
Titles.
Yeah. So I do think that when each of those games came out, they carved a very distinct niche. And now where Halo kind of falls in, if you just were to throw in the Halo sandbox into a typical BR, you could it kind of fits somewhere between Apex and Fortnite no builder mode. I think it's just not. I freaking would play it over all the other ones because I love the feel of Halo, but I just don't think it's distinct enough to separate itself for that crowd.
It needs its own identity. I fully agree.
Yeah, and especially, and here's the risk you run into because of that crowd, right? That crowd is a lot of the kids, all the people that look like Austin's age. It's really. If you're going to do that type of game, you are looking for millions and millions of players. You aren't just looking for a game that's going to be, number 20 on Xbox and not on the Steam list at all, after a certain period of time. And you do need to keep up with the cosmetics. And we talked about this before, like when we talked about live service games, hey, all these games like Destiny came out and they struggled out the gate. But you know what? That was then. This is now. People have different expectations. Those millions of players, they come there and all they get is a Santa hat after 6 months. They're gone. They're not sticking around. And you're really setting Halo up at that point to try to go toe to toe in comparisons and everything else. Again, for another failure. And they don't have a 1,000-person studio dedicated to that, right? Certain Affinity isn't that big. Now, what Certain Affinity does have is they have Max Hoberman. He is the granddaddy of Halo, for anybody that doesn't know. He was the lead on Halo multiplayer through the Bungie days. If this studio's been working with Unreal, I was telling Austin, I said, if anybody maybe could figure that out, I would think that this is probably the one studio that probably could They know Unreal, they know Halo.
Yeah.
They have worked with 343 in the past, working on the old Blam engine. So I think that if they're going to do something, it probably doesn't. I'm not saying they can't do a big mode, but I feel like it has to be so distinct that it sits in its. And also, when we think back to like what is really the energy about Halo and stuff in the past, and when it got giant, it set the standard, right? It set the bar. Like big team battle at the time was awesome. Other games weren't doing that on console. Not like that, right? With all the vehicles and everything. I think it needs to think about how it can set a bar in a category of its own again. And if it's not ready to do that, I would just keep delaying it until they could, or don't even put it out now, because
don't reveal it. Do not reveal it.
Especially
do not talk about it.
Especially under this climate, with the fans being where they're at today, they're not going to give you that leeway, that benefit of the doubt. Oh, we'll wait and see where this goes in 6 months.
Yep.
They're not going to do that.
Exactly.
If you come out flat, you're dead. And so,
like CA can make a phenomenal game. I have no doubt about that. Can they support that game for the next 3 years with 3-month updates?
Yeah, that's my big concern. Is it even with moving, if they move over to Unreal, do they want to create another live service mode? And just add on that much more demand, and like, has anyone here played Tarkov?
no,
Way back a little bit, but not much. Seen a lot of it though.
But that's not is that considered a live service game?
Yeah.
Tarkov?
Oh, it is.
It is. But like, that's the thing, is like what people think of when they think of live service, I think has been tainted a little bit, especially in these conversations about Halo Infinite, because we think it's like so heavily cosmetic based and seasons and stuff like that. But like, as long as the game is regularly updated,
that's what I mean. Then it's
a live service game.
And I agree. No, is it a but I played Tarkov. I haven't seen any sign of it, but I also didn't get far enough that I unlock everything. But it's not a content fed type of service game, right? It's just a constantly being updated. And I know there's also refreshes every 3 or 6 months or something. That's kind of the reason I didn't play it recently, because my character got reset. Anyways, my point is, if they make that kind of service game or mode, that would be fine. I don't think it would be smart to make another service type game that requires another content pipeline to feed into it. That's my other concern. Even if they move over to Unreal, I mean, that's Epic's engine, and they got 1,000 people working on Fortnite for content.
Yeah.
So
is the cosmetic thing in Halo sustainable? Like, how long before we do get into horns and crazy?
We already have that. We already have it in the game.
Oh, but Fortnite can do the Marvel thing. They can do the Star Wars thing.
They can do the Goku thing.
Halo can't. So I do think, again, Mike, I think that is a point. Like, you got to find a different niche.
But Apex doesn't do that, and they do fine though. So I feel like there's examples of everything.
You know what Halo can do, and they haven't, and I have no idea why. Doom Guy.
Yes, right. That has
Doom
to be core plan.
Doom Guy is in Fortnite. Where is he in Halo?
The door a little too much to like crossover content. I'm not that I'd be upset about it, but I can see why some people might be. Man, like
if any of those people are upset about Doom Guy and they're okay with cat ears and hologram,
those people are the people that do have problems with it. Like, there are still people that I see online get pissed off whenever new cosmetics are introduced. Like, when the winter update stuff got announced, they're like, they're putting these stupid fucking hats in the game.
I'm sorry.
That is Mike, by the way.
No, I know it is. But like,
I try not to complain about it publicly, but my only issue is that they're limited. Seasonal stuff I understand, but other stuff,
I think 343 would 100% put their eggs in the live service game basket. I think a problem that 343 had with Infinite was they thought they could do they could put out this game and it keep up the same momentum as like I know I give this example a lot, but like as a Destiny when they're very different games. Like Destiny's like whole thing that keeps it consistent isn't its PvP, although that is a component of it for sure. but it's constantly like earning loot in a PvE environment. Like it's just inherently more live service centric.
Destiny gives months of content for people to do every few
Right.
months, right? Like people come,
Right.
it's like the MMO thing. The new MMO patch releases and the new expansion.
I mean,
launches.
Destiny calls itself an MMO these days. Like it is that. And I think that 343 thought, well, if Bungie can do it, then we can do it. And Halo just, or at least modern Halo, current Halo, with a campaign and multiplayer that might get updated every 6 months. That's a little facetious for you guys out there. I flubbed that real good. I think that the hyperbole aside, I think that Infinite real or 343 really thought that they could pull that off and compete with Destiny when there's no comparison to be made other than they feel
I'm
a
not
little
sure if
similar.
Destiny was their main competition, to be honest.
I'm not saying that is 100% it. I think that
stuff.
they wanted a game like that. Like a game that just keeps people playing it every single day, and there's nothing in Infinite that incentivizes people to play it, because even at the end of the day, as great as it feels, its networking still has problems. Why would I keep playing it?
Well, not everyone has networking problems, to be fair.
So
of course.
Let's, I think we can pivot now, because we did have a question about something that's semi-related to what you were just talking about, Austin.
Did.
Where
also, to really quickly address Mort's
ahead.
question, because I feel like they've asked this many times. I'm going to paraphrase it. They asked, hey, when are we going to see PvE next in Halo Infinite or Halo? When it releases for Forge, if not, 5 years.
Who knows? I mean, maybe what if they pivot over to PvE mode with CA? You know, like
fair. Actually, I do think whatever BR mode, whatever mode they're releasing, will have some element of PvE content in there, kind of like Warzone had a little bit. I would not be surprised if it had
Or
that.
Tarkov. I mean, that has PvE.
Yeah.
I mean,
I really should play Tarkov.
I mean, you would have to make. You would have,
Such a
but
good game.
here's the thing: if you had a mode that mixed in the PvE stuff, right, like the Warzone, but blown up, you could probably, just like Fortnite separated their game and put in a builders mode, maybe you could throw in some PvE modes in there as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a possibility, and I think Microsoft could do some interesting thing with their Azure servers and all their AI research and things like that. So I wouldn't count any of that stuff out. The only thing I would say, though, is if they do go to something, whenever they CA comes out with something, before they do it, and this ties back to a question, I won't go too far back into it, but they need to make sure when they are done with, when they reveal the next thing they're going to reveal, the next big separate thing they reveal, they need to make sure that the game that they have today, the multiplayer that we know that is Halo Infinite today, has all of its features, all the modes people have come to expect, over the years, all the extractions and the infections. It needs to have all that stuff nailed down before they even think about it, because I think they need to build some trust back up before anything comes out.
But then,
I do feel like that you're hitting that on the head there, Abe, because I think that whatever they put out next has to be feature complete.
Exactly.
I know that like Infinite will never technically be or whatever, but I do think that there are like sort of content paths and features that people expect in a Halo game. A theater mode that fucking works, Forge, campaign, multiplayer, split screen, hopefully.
I think we need to let go of the theater mode. I don't think if they move to Unreal, I think theater mode is just gone entirely. They haven't done a working theater mode in 10 years. I don't see them starting now.
It still works though. No, I mean, I've used it a little bit. It gets the job done. It's a little glitchy.
It works, but
it is so frustrating that if I go into theater mode to film something for Forge Arrow right now, that if I die ever, I have to cut up the footage. Because not only do I hear all of the medals that I get and every kill that I get and every beep of my like respawn timer, but then I also get the screen effect over me regardless of where I'm at. And half the time, if you try to skip back and forth through a film, it just stops working.
Even now, even still, because I know they made improvements on the mode.
A month ago was the last time I got
I loaded it up like a month ago, and just for me, at least on controller, I don't know if you use mouse and keyboard, Austin.
I use controller for theater.
It's terrible. It's absolute garbage. I don't understand. It's like they never played it. It's like they never used it.
I've had some issues saving, but I have not had issues going through it back and forth. I'll be honest.
It's the movement. It's the controls. It's just manipulating whatever you want to do within the. I just don't
Nothing
understand.
works intuitively.
No,
And the things that do work as well as you would possibly hope for it to be a mode that's in the game, they're just a little unpolished.
And to be clear, like I'm not blaming 343 specifically.
No, it's
when I say it's
that
garbage,
never should have
but, like,
existed anyway.
No,
And like
but-
to be fair, Bungie's theater mode for Reach was ass. The only good theater mode we've ever gotten was Halo 3's.
I was fine with Reach.
Going back a little bit though, I mean the question is, can a game in the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years, can a game release with all of that?
Yes.
Right? Campaign, Forge, multiplayer, 10,
I think
15
they should
different
break
game
it up.
modes.
They should
15
they
different
should
game
break
modes
it
at
up.
release.
Yeah, break it up, send it to others. You know, and that's the interesting thing. I don't know if
That's too vague of a question though, because we don't know the scope
Yeah.
of the multiplayer or single
Yeah.
player or any. If you know it, I'd say yeah, especially if it was Unreal.
I mean, let's say someone wanted to
But-
make a BR game and they wanted to have all the features Fortnite has today at launch. That's not
No.
possible. That's not possible. Not period.
Yes, it
no,
is.
but that's where
It's 100% possible.
I don't think
put
so.
the fucking game out until it's ready.
I don't think so. I don't think it's possible to
Well, okay,
make it.
okay.
That's like releasing an MMO with all the features of World of Warcraft today. That's not possible. That's the reason why
But
new MMOs
that's-
don't go anywhere.
See,
'cause
there's
it's
a
just not
difference
possible.
there's a difference between like having content complete, and I put that in air quotes because there's that stupid whatever saying that
Right.
a service game is never complete.
Yeah,
but-
blah, blah,
But just having it comes down to managing expectations again. Then after that, because if you voice that it's not going to have this, and people are speaking about it, speaking out about it, delay it. Make sure it's in there. Don't put it out there if the public is telling you this is not good, this is not right, we don't want this, or it's. And I know it's not that easy. I completely understand it's not that easy. You have marketing contracts, you have investor calls, and you have quarterly earnings and annual earnings. There's everything about the business aspect that I hate. But if you're going to just send it out there to die, especially in the climate surrounding Halo, you can't afford to do that again.
But if you make it clear from the very beginning, like, hey, we're making a new Halo game. This is campaign only. That's it. No multiplayer period. This is a campaign only game.
Oh, that's going to die.
Right away, you set that up. Right?
That's not going to do well at all. You
I
have to
think
have
it'll do well as a
multiplayer.
Halo campaign, but it won't do well long term, of course, because it's a campaign. Who's playing God of War these days, right? Nobody. But it'll do well for the first month or two.
Oh,
like most
okay.
campaigns.
So if they go with that angle, and they make
I personally think, and Ahmed mentions this in the chat, and
Hey,
honestly,
breaking
my
news,
ideal
you
would have been
guys.
Halo Infinite, but
Uh-oh,
I personally
boy.
think that they should split them up, man. Keep multiplayer completely separate, make its own platform, update it on its own, campaign its own thing.
as
So,
long as they had a multiplayer for people to go to,
Yeah.
that can work.
So you guys, breaking news real quick. So you guys remember how like Paul
Breaking
Bertone
news.
joined 343 Studios
Mhm.
along with Joe Staten middle of last year? Scott,
Yeah.
He
Was
He's
he a part of the
gone. So-
layoff?
I don't know, but he's been 1 month at showing. He's gone. So I think what that shows is that there has been the whole idea that Joe Staten was going to leave is probably like I don't think that was initially in the plans that he was going to be leaving this quick, like in September when he got that position, and they hired one of his boys from formerly of Bungie. I think that was they were planning to stay longer is kind of what that shows. So basically what that also tells me is that things can change very quickly. Whatever's in the plans today may not be in the plans in 3 months. So
And for reference, his exact title was Studio Technical Design Director.
yeah. So he came in like, remember Staten, we talked about that.
I mean,
you know,
again,
like-
technical design director, that's all engine shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So he's gone. But all right, like last question.
Yeah, we're on the questions. Good old Collingwood. Happy 2023 Halo worshippers. I know it's really hard to be positive about Halo at the moment, but I thought I'd try and put some levity into my question. Say you are Pierre Hintz, and you are looking around for something to try and revitalize Halo. You then see this little game that is on the lips of everyone and think outside of the box. You can take one part of Halo and one part of Hi-Fi Rush. What part of Hi-Fi Rush do you take, and what sort of game do you end up with? Good old Collingwood.
Oh,
What?
Lord.
So I kind of love this question. Destiny just got a trailer showing off some of the new exotics that are coming in Lightfall, and one of them is a weapon that fires rhythmically, and every like quarter note, basically, it has a different status effect. So every fourth shot, it applies a status debuff, and then every 16th shot, it applies a massive status effect. It's really neat. I love the idea of a Halo rhythm shooter. Give me a Halo game where I have to go ba 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 ba.
You know, I like that idea, but then I played, what is it, Hellsinger or something? It came out
was tough as hell.
That was hard.
I wanted to love that game. I love the concept. I love everything, and I can actually get the beat pretty well with the skull that shoots the fireballs. But the shotgun, that thing jams on me constantly or something. It might as well.
I'd hear the vocals. I'd be like, "Yeah." 5 seconds later, no more vocals. That's the entire game.
That was exactly like I wanted to love that game so much. The one thing that Hi-Fi Rush does perfectly for idiots like me that can't keep a rhythm, it doesn't punish you. You get a bonus, but you don't get punished. Yeah, and that's so,
Yo. Real quick, a massive thank you to Gordon in the chat, dropping 50 Canadian dollars on us.
Oh, wow.
Gordon, thank you so much. If you have anything you'd like to say to us specifically that you didn't include in your message, feel free to let us know. We'll jump on that, man.
Yeah, thank you. Hi-Fi Rush and Halo.
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah, I was thinking of maybe reading some of your messages, but they're just dialogue. So if you have anything you want us to say, just let us know. Hi-Fi Rush and
you know what? The one thing that I would bring to Halo with Hi-Fi Rush is the more modest scope, like the manageable scope. That's what I'd want them to bring.
Yeah.
No open world. Or wait, does Hi-Fi Rush have an open world? I haven't gotten to play it.
No, not at all.
All
Fully
level based.
Singular game.
And I'm not saying make it so that it's small relatively, relative to infinite maybe, but still make a AAA game. Just don't.
Man. AAA games can have levels. This is something I was arguing about.
Entirely.
There's going to be open world and something. I'm like, no, just give it levels like Halo games do. You can have levels in a AAA game, damn it.
I just based on the production levels, which I understand that, it's not the most demanding game, but Hi-Fi Rush is absolutely gorgeous. It is mind-blowingly gorgeous to me, and
it is.
It can be done in a smart way, and it just. Anyways, that's my answer.
Well,
I'll go with that.
One of the things we talked about 2 weeks ago, I'm trying to figure out how to answer this because I can't really think of how to blend these two except this. We talked a couple weeks ago about the idea that they'll be partnering with other studios.
Okay.
I also think a lot of what Halo fans want, and this is kind of a different tangent, but a lot of what Halo fans seem to want these days, the old school Halo fans, the ones that yell at 343 for going open world, for having sprint, for whatever, for putting a grapple shot in there and breaking their sandbox and all that stuff like that. I think what a lot of them are asking for when they ask for old Halo is like, what would today be like a AA game? Basically, in terms of scope, right? And scope and design. We start talking about linear campaigns and things like that. So I do think if they kind of do that where they spin off and they partner, you could probably do some different art styles we saw there was a Roblox Halo at one point in time. Maybe you go with
Mega
the
Bloks.
anime.
No, definitely not
a Mega Bloks. So
definitely not Roblox.
When you said Roblox, I was like, "What?"
I meant at Mega Bloks, but I'm sorry. I get you kids and your.
It's not Mega construct. It's like a construct now. You still got it wrong even the second.
I don't know. You kids and your blocks. I don't know all the right words.
Okay, you did not take my idea. Nice.
Yeah. You could do spin-offs. You could probably even do some smaller stuff because the Halo cartoons were like anime, right? So you could do something like that.
Yeah, I mean they were anime, like not cartoons. It was all anime.
Yeah. Well, there was one that was CG, but the rest was.
Yeah. I don't know. I tried my best.
You kids with your newfangled cartoons,
right?
And your animes,
cartoons and your blocks. I'm gonna go back and yell at the kids I'm alone.
That's actually a great idea, and it's something we might see, hopefully, right?
Who knows?
If I die before Halo Roblox, god damn it! I knew I was gonna do that. If I die before Halo Mega Bloks, like Project Hagar releases, I will accept on my deathbed there is no God. Give me Halo Mega Blocks or give me death.
No.
So for mine, I'll be
I
pretty
mean,
quick.
not
I'm
that I
only
want
like
you to.
6 levels into Hi-Fi Rush. The one thing that stuck out with me right away is the game made bosses fun again. You know?
Oh, Halo's never
Yeah.
been good at boss fights.
Admittingly, I
Yeah.
like the bosses in Halo Infinite for the most part. The hammer dude, he was a lot of fun, especially in co-op, swinging away, killing all of us trying to run. Great stuff. But it's not just the bosses itself. I want like variety. Like one thing in Hi-Fi Rush is you think you're fighting a boss, nope, ends up being an escape sequence basically in a way, right? Things like that. Like give me final level encounters that are high production value, high. What are the term Abe used when the scarabs came in? I don't flipping know what. Hey, what was the term? Halo Infinite doesn't have a blank moment.
Like a
water cooler.
Water cooler?
Yeah.
Really? That's the term? English sucks.
Well,
But,
whatever you call that stuff. No. It's the
It doesn't have any fun set pieces.
It doesn't have
Set
any
pieces,
set
yeah.
pieces. Yeah.
The first level was a lot of fun, but yes, other than that, give me more moments like that. More moments where it's like, hey, this boss is giant, and honestly, look at Destiny. Destiny does some really damn fun raids with some really cool mechanics. You don't got to go that far because it's a single person playing the game, sure, right? But take something from there. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
We needed a scarab.
You needed to walk over a hill and see 3 scarabs staring down at you with a bunch of things surrounding you. But you know what? They couldn't. You know why? Because they had to make this game work on the Xbox One. So,
Big mistake.
anyways, that's a whole nother conversation.
Episode 68. Let's start right now. Halo is not released on the Xbox One.
If the next Halo game doesn't release on the PlayStation VR 2, I'm gonna fucking riot.
Okay, so Nick just explained it in chat, and now I get it. It makes sense, and why I don't. Water cooler is basically it's like the next day at work, you're talking about
Yep.
this at the water cooler,
Yeah.
which is also where the water cooler.
These kids don't know about going into work and having to get dressed up. And
Wow.
Meet at
Oh,
the
so I bring water
cooler.
bottles. So,
Meet at the water cooler.
like, I'm
talk
imagining a
about-
scene from like Mad Men here right now. Like, I'll be honest, like it's like that,
Talk-
right?
Talk about
I
the
hate
scarab
that,
that you.
we're having this like, oh, I'm old conversation while I look like this.
It's like I remember the water
We
cooler.
can go
just
back and talk about
the-
Fortnite.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Talk about the Lions loss and the scarabs you fought in Halo 3. I miss those days.
Yeah. But that's the last question.
All right, guys. I think I think
Final
that
thoughts.
Halo's dead. Rest in peace.
Yeah, it was nice knowing you, Mr. Chief.
For anyone just tuning in, that was not the tone of
I
this.
really wanted
episode.
I really wanted to name this episode "Halo is Dead, Long Live Halo" for a lot of reasons. Number one, what a great play on an old phrase. Number two, like if this is
You can do Halo is dad.
not changing hats. Dude, like that used to be my favorite thing to say on NeoGaf. Like that was
God.
my favorite inside joke on NeoGaf. Not that it was an inside joke at all, but like I always got a big kick out of seeing that shit. But like man, if this is the signal for like, hey, things are gonna suck for a little bit, and then eventually it's gonna be really good, like really good, better than you've ever seen this company do it.
I feel like deja vu right
I'm all
now.
for it.
but-
I know, of course.
Yeah. And the annoying part there is that it was better. It was, right? Like that's not something anyone can deny. It's just they weren't able to keep it up, and that really sucks.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
That's
what
the
I
thing.
hear anyway.
Like I have faith that if they put something out, it's going to be good. The tech head of me is disappointed about Slip Space possibly going away and moving to Unreal, like everything else.
Really quick, Unreal is not this. For anyone listening, it's not this magical engine that can solve every problem in existence. I know UE5 has been marketed like that, and I know Sony had a bit of a hand in that, but no, moving to UE5 does not fix all your issues. And yes, UE5 has its own tech debt. Yes, it has its own spaghetti code. It has its own issues and problems and everything. So it's not necessarily just blanket good news.
There is
It's
no
just
silver
it's
bullet.
spaghetti code and tech debt that a lot more developers understand, and that's
Yes,
probably
fair enough.
the biggest.
A lot of silver linings. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the difference between that. Go ahead, Mike. You were going to give your final.
No, I
thoughts, too.
I mean, I have faith in 343. Even after all this, I'm just kind of worried. Is really what
Hmm.
I'm worried and very curious to see where it goes. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't suspect that I'm going to get anything for me as a Halo fan, for a campaign fan, for a long, long, long time.
6 years.
That's
Is that
is-
long, or is that just
that's
long?
very long.
Okay.
that is forever in
Well, that's like
technology and video game time. Like that, we're talking next generation.
We
is
are.
what
We
you're
are
saying.
talking.
It depends on the scope, though, Mike. I think it depends. Are they going to go for this being the end all be all?
Well, I mean,
AAA,
mainline.
super AAA. Yeah, I mean, but
Like,
even
I
that,
could see
you
us
could
seeing some side stuff before then, 6 years or what have you. But
do something in between still.
I,
But,
I would
well,
be
yeah, we don't
surprised
know.
if we see anything like campaign announcement within 3 years.
3 years would be 2026. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Again,
if it makes me feel any better, another like massive franchise that I'm a huge fan of is Fallout, and we're at least 30 years away from seeing one of those fucking games.
You do have 76 though, which by all accounts is a pretty good game these days.
Oh, good! I'm not gonna play 70s.
Hey, at least 76 is more
It'd be-
Fallout than
it'd be
ESO
like-
is Skyrim. All right.
It'd be like, man, I really want to play a new Halo game. It's like, well, Halo Wars is right there, man.
Oh,
Go get it.
Well, even Halo Wars isn't, man. Sad days.
Oh,
days.
so my final thoughts is I'm extremely disappointed. I'm extremely concerned, but I'm also hopeful. So basically, Halo's dead.
I forgot we were doing that. That was fucking funny.
Oh god.
Final
my
thoughts.
God.
Halo is a video game, man, and that's pretty rad.
Shoot stuff, not scared of anything.
I was trying to move it along because our closing is going to be another half hour if we keep going this way.
No
It's
shit.
almost been 2 hours.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Full transparency. I was the one who vetoed against the Halo is Dead, Long Live Halo. It's a cool idea. I hate the Halo is Dead jokes with a passion, like a burning passion, and I'd rather not have those like people. That
So
would
how can
come
you
for
hate
that.
those jokes when you live on the Halo
God.
subreddit?
I know, man.
I
Okay,
know,
first off,
like,
I don't live there.
don't
I
really
torture
hate
myself
them.
there. There's a difference. God.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But,
you don't live there. That's where people go to die. Like,
Straight up, or wish they were dead.
yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
final thoughts, man.
Internally.
Like it's technically nothing's changed too much with us. We already knew from the last 2 weeks that the next Halo campaign is going to be a while. We already knew the Halo Infinite was going to maybe not have support past this year, right? That stuff's still the same. It's just it's a big risk moving to Unreal. A lot of pros, one major con, potential con, but all I want, if I could have anything, 343 or Microsoft or CA or I don't know who the hell's working on the next Halo game, Epic, please continue the story. I've
I've
Please don't
heard
reboot it
that
again.
Bungie is actually working on the next Halo game.
Do it, please. I don't care. Just continue the damn story.
Hey,
Continue the same
Bill
cast.
Spencer did say Halo on other platforms.
It's true.
I'd be okay with that.
Halo on
He did.
Stadia? Question mark. Oh, rest in peace.
I'm guessing Switch, but
I swear, if we get another, we're going back to the basics. We're gonna do this again. If we get that again, I swear, I'm gonna be pissed. If we get like a spiritual reboot, hey, here's Chief again. And if you're gonna do that, reboot the whole damn universe, everything. Just do a clean sweep. Start from the beginning, not
Yeah.
Silver Timeline, but the beginning.
No, start with the silver timeline.
No,
base it
I knew
off-
you were gonna go there.
Joe, give me Pablo and fucking human Cortana.
Oh,
God damn it!
I think like one of the cosmetics, if you did the silver timeline, you could have like the assless Spartan pants.
Yeah.
Like
The opening shot is coming from his crack.
And we will be covering season 2, guys. Just wondering.
I love the idea.
Oh
I
my
love the
goodness.
idea that like at the end of the show, right? The end of the show, they're in the longsword, and Cortana's like, "Halo, it's finished." And then Chief like takes his fucking pants off. And it's like, "No, I think we're just getting started."
But
Guys,
serious,
this has.
do not
I'm sorry,
reboot it.
please.
do not reboot it. Do not reboot it, please. But if you're gonna do it,
What,
if
the
you're
show?
don't. No, I mean the game.
Oh.
Like,
oh,
if you're not gonna
reboot
change
the
story,
freaking
reboot it.
show.
No,
Yeah.
we won't
season
even talk
two is
about
fine.
that.
Season
Don't
two will be
reboot
good.
the story in the game. Reboot the show, not the
though.
game.
But yeah. Sorry, Abe. Sorry, Austin. You're doing your sign out.
No, Mike, did you get to touch on your
Final thoughts?
final thoughts?
Yeah. I'm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I'm,
I thought he was just standing
I'm
super still.
just expecting to wait a long time, And I'm also
Okay.
expecting to be disappointed with the technology move.
It's gonna be great, buddy. Okay, well, guys, thank you so much. This has been the 67th episode of the You Had Me at Halo podcast, where you just, you sit around and you bitch with some of your best friends about your favorite video game. We love to do it so much. Real quick, to round out the show, Aarsal, where can people find you online? What are you up to right now? Anything cool in the works?
Yeah, I'm on Xbox Era, really. I edited a video written by some of us. It's pretty cool. It's about the top 10 or the studios we thought are the most exciting on Xbox. Pretty cool video. Check it out. Otherwise, I am currently releasing a video with another writer in the channel talking about Xbox and the diversity in its games. Should be releasing tomorrow sometime. Keep an eye on the channel to check it out.
Very cool. Mike, what about you, buddy? First of all, welcome back to the show.
This has been great. Like, it's been depressing, but
of course.
It's therapy.
This is a lot of fun.
If people were looking for you online, where can they find you? Are you on Twitter? Any cool projects you recently put out with Xbox?
Kinda on Twitter.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've been on Twitter a lot less lately. But yeah, _ Mike _ Skiles. And
Mike.
Yeah, I had to do
like before the first,
because there's another Mike Skiles out there.
Let's not turn this into a segment. So.
Okay, sorry.
And then, of course, Mike put out a great video going over Saturn emulation on Xbox Series S. Definitely recommend you check that out, guys. And then Abe, what about you, man? What podcasts are you on this week? Let me go write it on my fucking calendar.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I wanted to say, Mike, it was awesome being able to give you shit again. It's been too damn long, and yeah, people want to follow me. You can always catch me. Just look on Twitter, and then you'll find out what podcast I'm on. I'll actually be joining Kay Asante and Everborn on Saturday morning because they need to talk some more Halo there. So join us over there on the gaming circle, and also check out the article we have for the top 15. I did start to put together content again. So
top 15 most anticipated games of the year, for anyone wondering. And there's a lot of games coming this year.
It's a very good list. I definitely recommend checking it out.
Well, I hear that, the kids on Twitter, especially, the guys that hang out on the in those chats seem to like lists. So I'm like, we made one. We made one for Xbox. So it's a pretty impressive list of games coming out this year. So if there's not enough cosmetics to keep you going in Halo, you got other things to play, right?
It's very cool stuff, man. I'm super excited to see what other fun stuff everyone on the site puts out this year. I think this is going to be a great year for Xbox Era, an even better year for You Had Me at Halo. My name is Austin. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Hive. I think I have an account on Hive still. At AustinFordGames everywhere. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening and putting up with all of this and all of this. Until next time, guys, be safe, have fun. We love you. Good night.
See you
later, guys.